So now shifting a little bit to what should you actually do, the thing you should do right away is network like crazy and then have a strategy. So network like crazy, have a strategy. So how do you define your strategy? You got to define it across four metrics, right? Industry, the size of the companies or some companies are reaching out to, the functions that you're reaching out to, and then kind of the pay and some of the logistics around that. So number one, on the industry side, focus your efforts on industries that are growing and that ones that align with your interest, right? So if you're interested in general strategy, consulting, kind of pick areas or industries that are still growing that help you define strategy or define operations for companies. So pick things like healthcare, consumer products, technology, logistics, education, telecom, all those areas which are still growing, and then target companies within that space that are actually in need of growth or that are trying to disrupt things that are going on in this space, as well as that align to your interests. So if you are interested in strategy, go reach out to their business development team or go reach out to their strategy and operations team to help them build this out, right? So that's on the industry side. Number two, size. It is going to be more challenging to enter, if it's an internship, into kind of a large company program this late in the game. So I'd kind of focus a lot of your efforts on these medium-sized, potentially smaller, potentially entrepreneurial types startups where you can actually drive some of this impact, right? So for instance, research and make a list of all the medium-sized, if you're interested in finance, medium-sized advisory firms rather than some of the largest ones, right? So I think just focusing it on the size of what actually is realistic makes a lot of sense. Function, right? Be broad and get creative, right? So I don't think companies really fully have or know how to thrive in COVID. So, reach out to them and like we said earlier, focus on how you'd add value and what good ideas that they could implement, right? So for instance, if you're really focused on a finance role, that's fine. You can go into a finance role, but also try to be like, hey, I can also do these other operational roles and kind of be this jack of all trades. So really focusing on a broad set of skills could also help you kind of land this job. And then finally, right, I think logistics, pay, et cetera. We don't know how long things are going to be remote. We don't know if people, especially if you're internships, maybe there's positions that are really interesting, but they're not able to pay you, right? So you don't need to offer the fact that you'll work for free right away, right? Especially if it's an internship, but really be open to it if it's really needed, right? But also be transparent with people about your financial needs, right? So if it is something, and if you are a good fit, then people will really try to make it work. Rather than if you're too inflexible at the start, then you may not even get a shot to begin with, right? So I kind of, your strategy should be defined across those four broad dynamics.